We came together as civil society to form the Devolution Forum because we were concerned that without vigilance, the implementation of devolution is being undermined by interests, mainly political interests. We therefore work together with any organization that is interested in the effective implementation of devolution. One of the activities of the Devolution Forum is forging a way forward in the revision of CDF, and we are calling for a new CDF. We want to see the CDF law amended in line with the court ruling, and so this meeting today is to deliberate on how we can develop proposals for the new CDF for consideration by Parliament. In 2003, the Parliament of Kenya enacted the Constituency Development Fund Act, the CDF. The stated objective of the act was to ensure that a portion of the annual government budget was set aside and allocated to community-based projects, to the promotion of public participation in development planning and the eradication of poverty. Following the passage of the new constitution, this law was repealed, and in its place, the Constituency Development Fund Act of 2012 was enacted. So we see there was already a first attempt by Parliament to align CDF to the Constitution of Kenya, and this was in 2012. Having reviewed the revised act, the CDF Act of 2012, we were concerned as civil society that it still offends the Constitution, and therefore the Institute for Social Accountability, TISA, and the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CGG, went to court seeking orders to nullify the act. On February 2015, the High Court declared the Constituency Development Fund Act 2013 unconstitutional and rendered it invalid in its entirety. The court, however, suspended the invalidity of the act for a period of 12 months to give Parliament time to revise the act to comply with the Constitution of Kenya. So the Parliament has 12 months until February 2016 in which it needs to revise CDF to comply with the Constitution of Kenya, and of course to make provisions for transition of the CDF projects to the new framework. As civil society organizations, we support the CDF, and we acknowledge it has revolutionized local development in Kenya. We, however, wish to remind the National Parliament that they cannot apply the Constitution selectively, and they should abide with the High Court judgment to align CDF to the Constitution of Kenya. We strongly condemn efforts by the CDF board and the National Assembly to undermine the court ruling using delay tactics to prevent the revision of the CDF Act that will allow CDF to remain but conform it to the Constitution. We condemn the misrepresentation of the court ruling, whereby members of the National Assembly are misrepresenting what the ruling stated. CDF will continue. CDF can only die if Parliament fails to abide to the court ruling. It is therefore up to Parliament to ensure that CDF continues and CDF stays in the hands of the Mwananchi. So within 12 months, Parliament has to do something to revise CDF, or else it will die. We urge Parliament to amend the law and to either restrict CDF funding to national government projects at the county. However, this must not involve legislators in the identification and implementation of projects. Parliament also has the option to transfer the fund conditionally or unconditionally to county governments, and in doing so, they have the option to give certain conditions.
In deciding in deciding which way CDF should go, the original objects of CDF must not be lost. CDF was supposed to put communities in charge of planning and implementation of projects. The kind of control given by CDF to communities should be protected in the successor of CDF. We therefore propose a framework that retains the fund as a national government fund, and the fund will be a social fund established under national legislation to support national functions through projects identified by communities at sub-county level. All decisions on the projects will be made through communities, or other committees elected by the local community. And the county government may only provide technical support to that fund. The roles of the members of the National Assembly will therefore be to oversight over the funds. And the revised fund must respect the functions, structures, and the institutions of the county government in line with Article 6, subsection 2, and Article 189 of the Constitution of Kenya.
The court ruled that Parliament within a period of 12 months should be able to amend the CDF Act to conform with the Constitution. It's in line with that we recently saw the National CDF Board seeking for memorandums from members of the public on how best to amend the CDF Act. And they are now going around the country seeking views from the public. So we welcome the initiative of the CDF Board in inviting submissions of written memorandums from the public. We also note that the board has commenced public hearings. In fact, the most recent was the one that was held in Nakuru on June 3rd, 2015. We have a wish to raise several concerns with the ongoing CDF board process. One, the CDF board has filed an appeal to the ruling. It is not clear why the board is soliciting views when it appears to have taken a decision to appeal the court ruling, rendering any public input into the discussion void. Secondly, the conduct of the board officials during the Nakuru meeting was blatantly biased and unprofessional. Instead of soliciting views, they used the platform to campaign for the continuation of the fund, the CDF fund. This is a total abuse of the proposed public participation process, because the original idea was that they get views on how the fund can be amended. But what emerged from the meeting is that they used the forum to campaign for the continuation of the fund as opposed to getting views. Third, we take exception to the wording of the notice placed by the board. It seeks public views on the issues at hand. The vagueness of the invitation will undermine the quality of submissions and the objectivity of feedback given. Lastly, a number of participants in the meeting who appear to have been mobilized for that specific purpose, I'm talking about the Nakuru meeting, were allowed to use inflammatory and threatening language in giving their submissions. We therefore demand that the CDF board immediately suspends the ongoing public participation process and establish an objective process once it has resolved the conflict of interest as an interested party. In particular, the legality of holding public submissions proceedings when they have lodged a court appeal on the matter should be established. So we are concerned that on one hand, they have appealed the ruling of the High Court. On the other hand, they are seeking views of the public. So that raises a bit of confusion as to what exactly the board wants the court ruling to be implemented moving forward. Thank you very much.